I found the old video while cleaning out my closet, buried under a decade of forgotten memories. The label read Science Fair and Cheer Finals 2010 in my mother's perfect handwriting. I shouldn't have pressed play. My name is Lila, and that dusty VHS tape just reminded me why I've spent the last decade trying to prove myself to a family that never bothered to look. And first place in the state science fair goes to Lila Brooks. The grainy footage showed my 16-year-old self walking toward the stage, clutching my project on revolutionary cancer detection methods. The camera shook, then suddenly panned away to my sister Ivy practicing her cheerleading routine in the back of the auditorium. "Oh, Evelyn, look at Ivy's form. She's going to crush it at finals tomorrow." My father's voice boomed from behind the camera. My moment on stage became nothing more than background noise. I paused the video, my thumb hovering over the eject button. But something made me keep watching. The next scene showed Ivy's cheerleading finals. The camera never wavered, capturing every flip, every smile, every perfectly executed move. My parents' cheers drowned out the crowd. When Ivy's team took second place, you'd think they'd won Olympic gold from my parents' reaction. "That's my girl." Dad's voice cracked with emotion. "Our little star." My own trophy sat forgotten on a table behind them, visible for just a split second before the video cut out. I was still staring at the static when my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Family dinner tonight. Important news about Ivy. Don't be late." Of course it was about Ivy. It was always about Ivy. I glanced at my laptop, where an email from the biotechnology firm I'd been courting sat unopened. Inside was either an acceptance or rejection for a position that could change everything. But I knew better than to mention it at dinner. They just changed the subject back to Ivy anyway. My neighbor, Mr. Peterson, was watering his plants when I stepped outside. He took one look at my face and set down his watering can. "Found something you wish you hadn't?" he asked, his weathered face creasing with concern. "Just some old home videos," I said, forcing a smile. "Nothing important." "Ah," he nodded, seeing right through me. "The ones where the camera always seemed to find your sister?" I stopped short. "You remember that? Hard to forget. Your parents filming every little thing she did while you were winning science fairs and scholarships." He shook his head. Never did seem right to me. Something in his words hit harder than the video had. Maybe because it was the first time anyone had acknowledged what I'd felt all these years. "I have to go to another family dinner," I said, jingling my car keys. Apparently, Ivy has news. "Well," he said, picking up his watering can, "maybe it's time to give them some news of your own." I thought about the email waiting in my inbox, about the research I'd been doing that could revolutionize early cancer detection, the same concept I'd first explored in that science fair project no one had watched. "Maybe you're right," I said, straightening my shoulders. "Maybe it's time they actually saw me." As I drove toward my parents' house, the old video played in my mind. But this time, I wasn't watching my teenage self on that stage. I was watching the moment I became invisible to my own family. The thing about being invisible, though, no one sees you coming. The family dinner was exactly what I expected, a shrine to Ivy's latest triumph. I arrived just as Mom was arranging fresh-cut roses in the center of the dining table, probably meant to match Ivy's announcement. Before I could even mention checking my work email, Ivy burst through the front door. "I'm engaged." She thrust her left hand forward, a massive diamond catching the light. Jake, her boyfriend of 8 months, followed behind with that easy smile that seemed to charm everyone but me. "We're thinking June," Ivy gushed, while Mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. "A garden wedding, just like you always wanted for me." I took a long sip of wine, remembering the email still waiting in my inbox. The position would mean leading my own research team, developing technology that could save thousands of lives. But timing had never been my strong suit. "Actually," I started, setting down my glass, "I have some news too. Jake's family owns the most beautiful venue in Vermont," Mom interrupted, already pulling up photos on her phone. "Lila, you'll need to request time off work. The whole month of June, probably. You're going to be the maid of honor." Dad clapped Jake on the shoulder. "Welcome to the family, son. We always knew Ivy would land someone special." I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket, Probably the biotechnology firm wondering why I hadn't responded. The position would require moving across the country. 6 months minimum, starting in June. About that, I said, louder this time, I might not be available in June. I'm waiting to hear about a research position. Oh, honey, Mom waved her hand dismissively. You're not still doing that lab work, are you? You're 28. It's time to think about settling down like your sister. It's not just lab work, I said, my voice tight. It's revolutionary cancer detection technology. The same concept I developed in high school, actually. Remember that science fair? The blank looks on their faces answered that question. Well, Ivy chirped. Speaking of high school, guess who I ran into? Remember Tommy Phillips from the football team? He's single now, Lila. I could set you up. I stood up so abruptly my chair scraped against the floor. I need some air. In the backyard, I finally opened the email. Congratulations, it began. We would be honored to have you lead our research team. The back door opened, and Jake stepped out. Rough night. Shouldn't you be inside planning your perfect June wedding? He laughed, but it wasn't his usual confident sound. Can I be honest? I hate garden weddings. And Vermont. He pulled out a cigarette, hands shaking slightly as he lit it. But what Ivy wants, Ivy gets, right? Something in his tone made me look closer. The designer watch on his wrist was gone, replaced by a tan line. The same watch he'd bragged about buying last month. Everything okay, Jake? He took a long drag. Sure. Great. Perfect. Each word dripped with sarcasm. Just like everything in this family has to be perfect, right? Before I could respond, Ivy's voice rang out from inside. Jake, baby. Mom wants to show you the wedding venues. He straightened up, that familiar charming smile sliding back into place. But now I'd seen behind it. Coming, sweetheart. As he headed inside, I pulled out my phone and typed 2 words in response to the job offer. I accept. Mom appeared in the doorway. Lila, stop hiding out here. We need to discuss your dress fitting. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw what I'd been missing. The slight tremor in her hands as she smoothed her already perfect hair. The forced brightness of her smile. The way she kept glancing at Jake's retreating back. They were all pretending. Every single one of them. Well, I was done pretending. I had a job offer in one hand and a family secret forming in the other. For the first time in my life, I felt visible because I was finally seeing them clearly too. Coming, Mom, I said, pocketing my phone. I think it's time we had a real family discussion. 3 weeks after accepting the research position, I ran into Aunt Felicity at the local bank. She was wearing her manager's badge and a concerned expression I hadn't seen since my high school graduation. Lila, she said, glancing around before pulling me into her office. We need to talk about Jake. I hadn't told anyone about my conversation with him in the backyard or about the missing watch. But Aunt Felicity had always seen what others missed. He's been coming in almost daily, she said, closing her door, making large withdrawals from Ivy's account. When I mentioned it to your mother, she changed the subject. My stomach tightened. How large? She slid a piece of paper across her desk. The number made me grip the edge of my chair. That's more than Ivy makes in a year, I said. It's more than both their salaries combined. Felicity leaned forward. And that's just from the past month. A memory flashed. Jake's shaking hands as he lit that cigarette, the missing watch, the forced smile. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture I didn't want to see. My phone buzzed. A text from Ivy. Need to talk. Coffee? Just us sisters. I have to go, I told Felicity, standing up. But thank you for telling me. She caught my arm. Be careful, Lila. Sometimes helping means making hard choices. I found Ivy at our usual cafe, but she wasn't her typical bubbly self. Her designer purse was missing, replaced by a worn tote. Her engagement ring twisted nervously on her finger. I need to borrow some money, she blurted before I could sit down. Just until the wedding. Jake's investments. They're just taking longer to pay off than expected. Investments. I kept my voice neutral, remembering the withdrawal slip on Felicity's desk. Yes, he has the system. She trailed off, eyes darting away. It doesn't matter.
Can you help or not?
I thought about my new job, the move across the country, the chance to finally build something of my own. How much? She named a figure that would drain my savings. My future. That's everything I have, Ivy. But you're the successful one. Her voice cracked. The smart one. You always figure everything out. Do I? I leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, I'm just the invisible sister who's supposed to clean up everyone else's messes. Her face crumpled. You don't understand. Jake says if we can't pay them back. Then she clapped her hand over her mouth, but it was too late. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Tell your sister time's running out. Jake knows the consequences. I showed it to Ivy. She went pale. Who are they? I asked. She shook her head, gathering her things. I shouldn't have come. Forget I asked. Ivy, wait. But she was already gone, leaving behind a crumpled receipt. I smoothed it out, a pawn shop ticket for one designer watch. That night, I sat in my car outside my parents' house, watching Jake's car pull in. He stumbled slightly getting out, checking his phone with shaking hands. Through the window, I could see Mom and Dad welcoming him, all smiles and warmth, while Ivy hovered in the background, a shadow of her former self. My own phone lit up with another message about the research position. Need your decision about the early start date. Position available immediately. I thought about Aunt Felicity's words. Sometimes helping means making hard choices. I started typing. I'll take the immediate start. Then I deleted it. Instead, I pulled on my banking app and looked at my savings, everything I'd worked for, everything I'd planned to use for my fresh start. The amount that could save Ivy, or destroy us both. My finger hovered over the transfer button as Jake's words echoed in my head. What Ivy wants, Ivy gets. But not this time. This time, I was going to find out exactly what Jake had done with my sister's money. And when I did, someone was finally going to see me coming. I put the car in drive, my mind already forming a plan. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting answers. I followed Jake for 3 days before I caught him. Not at a casino or a bookie's den, but at the Silver Moon Motel on the edge of town, meeting with a man who looked like he collected broken kneecaps for fun. Through my car window, I watched Jake hand over an envelope, his hands trembling just like they had at the engagement dinner. The man counted the contents, then shook his head. Even from across the parking lot, I could see Jake's face crumple. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mom about wedding preparations. Ivy's dress fitting tomorrow. Be there by 10. Don't be late like last time. I was about to reply when Jake's raised voice caught my attention. I'll get the rest. Just need more time. The man's response was too quiet to hear, but Jake's reaction wasn't. He stumbled backward, face white as paper. That's when I noticed someone else watching from a parked car 2 spaces down. Through the reflection in my side mirror, I caught a glimpse of Aunt Felicity, her expression grim as she typed something on her phone. My own phone buzzed again. This time it was Felicity. My office. Now. At the bank, she didn't waste time with pleasantries. Jake's in debt to loan sharks. Big ones. The kind that don't send polite payment reminders. How much? More than your sister knows. She slid a folder across her desk. But that's not the worst part. Inside were bank statements, withdrawal slips, and loan applications, all with Ivy's forged signature. He's using her name, I said, the pieces clicking into place. If he defaults, they'll come after her. Felicity's voice was steel. And your parents, since they co-signed some of these loans. My hands clenched around the folder. Does Ivy know? She suspects. But your mother. Felicity's mouth tightened. Evelyn's convinced everything's fine. Perfect family, perfect wedding, perfect lie. A text lit up my phone, Ivy. Where are you? Mom's furious you missed the fitting. Another followed immediately. Please come to dinner tonight. I need you there. I looked at the folder in my hands, then at Felicity. What happens if these loans default? Best case? Bankruptcy. Worst case? She met my eyes. People like the man at the motel start showing up at your parents' house instead. My phone buzzed again. The research facility. Position must be filled by end of week. Need your final decision. I thought about the job across the country, the escape route, the clean slate. Then I thought about Ivy's shaking hands at the cafe, Mom's forced smile at dinner, Dad's proud clap on Jake's shoulder. I have to tell them, I said. They won't believe you. Felicity's voice was gentle. Not without proof they can't ignore. Then I'll get proof. I stood up, my decision made. But I need your help. You realize what this means? She gestured at my phone, still showing the research facility's message. Your dream job. Some things matter more. I picked up the folder, even if they never see it that way. As I drove to my parents' house for dinner, I drafted a response to the research facility. I need to postpone my start date. Family emergency. Their reply came quickly. Position cannot be held. Must move forward with other candidates. I deleted the message just as I pulled into the driveway. Through the window, I could see them all gathered around the dinner table. Mom, Dad, Ivy, and Jake. The perfect family portrait. But now I saw the cracks. The way Jake's hand shook as he reached for his water glass. The slight tremble in Ivy's smile. The worried glances Mom kept shooting when she thought no one was looking. I had a choice to make. I could walk away, take the job, start fresh. Or I could stay and fight for a family that might never thank me for it. I got out of the car, the folder heavy in my bag. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight for people who don't even know they need saving. Time to shatter some illusions. The realtor's sold sign looked perfect in front of my new house. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and most importantly, 20 miles from my family. I'd just finished unloading the last box when Mom's SUV pulled into the driveway. She didn't wait for an invitation. Darling, we need to discuss something important. Dad followed behind her, and my stomach dropped when I saw Ivy and Jake trailing after them. This wasn't a casual visit. Nice place, Jake said, his eyes darting around like he was appraising everything. Real nice. Mom perched on my newly delivered couch, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her skirt. Sweetheart, we've been thinking about your situation. My situation? I stayed standing, the folder from Aunt Felicity burning a hole in my bag by the door. Living all alone in this big house, Mom continued. It seems wasteful. Dad cleared his throat. What your mother means is, with Ivy and Jake starting their life together and their current, temporary financial setback. We thought maybe you could help out family, Mom finished. Let them live here while you find something more suitable for your lifestyle. The word suitable hung in the air like poison. You want me to give them my house? My voice sounded distant, even to myself. Not give. Jake jumped in, that familiar charming smile spreading across his face. We'd pay rent, of course. Once my investments pay off. What investments? I cut him off, thinking of the man at the motel. The ones you're making with Ivy's forged signature? The room went silent. Jake's smile froze, then cracked slightly at the edges. Lila, Mom gasped. How dare you make such accusations? But I noticed Ivy hadn't said a word. She stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself, staring at the floor. Ivy, I said softly, show them your bank statements. That's enough. Dad stood up. We came here to help you, Lila. You're almost 30, alone, working those long hours in that lab. This arrangement would benefit everyone. I walked to my bag, pulled out Felicity's folder. Like these arrangements benefited everyone? Jake moved faster than I expected, snatching the folder before I could open it. This is none of your business. It became my business when you started destroying my sister's life. Destroying? Mom laughed, but it sounded hollow. They're getting married in the most beautiful venue in Vermont.
There is no venue, I said.
Is there, Jake? His face went pale. Ivy made a small sound by the window. The deposit, she whispered. You said you paid it last week. Baby, I can explain. Explain what? I pressed. The loans? The forged signatures? Or the man at the Silver Moon Motel? Jake's charm vanished. You've been following me? Someone had to protect my sister, since everyone else was too busy pretending everything was perfect. Lila Brooks. Mom stood up, shaking. You will apologize right now.
No.
The word came out stronger than I'd ever spoken to her. I'm done apologizing for seeing the truth. Then you leave us no choice, Dad said. Either you help your sister by letting them live here or what? I challenged. Or you're no longer part of this family. The ultimatum hung in the air. I looked at each of them, Mom's rigid posture, Dad's stern face, Jake's barely concealed panic, and finally Ivy, still hugging herself by the window. I thought about the folder Jake held, the evidence that could save or destroy us all. About the years of being invisible, of having my achievements dismissed, of watching Ivy slowly disappear into Jake's web of lies. You're right, I said quietly. I'm not part of this family. I haven't been for a long time. I walked to the door and opened it. Get out of my house. All of you. Lila, please. Ivy finally spoke. When you're ready to face the truth, I told her, come find me. But until then, I'm done pretending. They filed out, Jake still clutching the folder. But I wasn't worried. Aunt Felicity had copies of everything. As their cars pulled away, I noticed Mr. Peterson watching from his porch next door. He raised his coffee mug in a silent salute. Sometimes standing alone is better than standing with people who want to watch you fall. 3 days after I kicked my family out, Ivy showed up at my door with a black eye and trembling hands. He's gone crazy, she whispered. The men he owes? They came to the house. I pulled her inside just as a dark SUV cruised past my house for the 3rd time that hour. Ivy flinched at the sound of the engine. Mom and Dad still won't believe me, she said, sinking onto my couch. They think I'm being dramatic, that I provoked him. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Aunt Felicity. Jake just cleared out your parents' accounts. All of them. Another text followed. Police are involved. It's bad. I showed Ivy the messages. She didn't cry. Something worse happened. She laughed, a hollow sound that made my skin crawl. You know what Mom said when I told her about the loans? Ivy's voice was eerily calm. She said, I should be more understanding. That every husband has his struggles.
My doorbell rang.
Through the peephole, I saw 2 men in suits. Not police. Their posture was all wrong. One of them was the man from the motel. MS. Brooks, one called out. We need to discuss your brother-in-law's obligations. Ivy grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. I pulled her toward the back door, but headlights swept across my kitchen windows. They had the house surrounded.
My phone buzzed again.
Mom, how dare you fill Ivy's head with lies? Jake says you're spreading rumors at the bank. We raised you better than this. There's something else, Ivy whispered as the men kept knocking. Jake. He used your name too, on some of the loans. The world tilted sideways.
What?
He found your old tax returns in Mom's office. Said since you had the best credit score. The knocking became pounding. My phone lit up with an alert from my bank. Multiple loan payments were overdue. Loans I'd never taken out. Police are on their way, Aunt Felicity texted. But your credit is destroyed. They're freezing your accounts. The back door rattled. Another suit-wearing man peered through the window. MS. Brooks. The voice from the front grew harder. Don't make this difficult. I grabbed Ivy's hand and pulled her toward the basement door. There was a small window down there leading to the side yard. If we could just... Glass shattered upstairs. Heavy footsteps crossed my living room floor. You know what's funny? Ivy whispered as we crouched in the darkness. I always thought you were the lucky one.
So smart, so independent.
I was so jealous. We need to. But you were right, she continued, her voice breaking. They never saw you, just like they never really saw me. We were just props in their perfect family picture. Footsteps on the basement stairs. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness.
My phone lit up one last time. Dad, fix this.
Whatever you've done to hurt Jake's reputation, fix it. Or don't bother coming home again. The flashlight found us. The man from the motel smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Ladies, he said softly, let's discuss your family's debt. I stood up slowly, pushing Ivy behind me. Through the small basement window, I could see Mr. Peterson on his porch, phone to his ear, watching intently. Police sirens wailed in the distance. You want to talk about debt? I said, buying time. Let's talk about how my family has been paying their debts for years.
Some with money.
Some with denial. Some with blind obedience. The man's smile faltered slightly. But I'm done paying, I continued, hearing the sirens grow closer. And I have proof of every illegal loan, every forged signature, every threat. You're bluffing, he said, but his eyes flickered toward the window as red and blue lights began to flash outside. I thought about the copies Aunt Felicity had safely stored away, about the years of invisible victories and silent defeats, about the price of being the perfect family's imperfect daughter. Try me, I said, as police officers surrounded the house. I've got nothing left to lose. Sometimes hitting rock bottom shows you exactly what you're made of. The police interview room felt smaller with each passing hour. Across the table, Detective Martinez spread out the evidence Aunt Felicity and I had gathered: loan documents, bank statements, surveillance photos from the Silver Moon Motel. Jake Turner was arrested trying to cross the Canadian border, she said. But he claims you're the mastermind, that you forged the signatures, orchestrated the loans. A knock at the door interrupted us. Mom and Dad burst in, their lawyer close behind. This ends now, Dad demanded. Our daughter is not pressing charges. I met his eyes. Which daughter, Dad? The one with the black eye, or the one who tried to warn you? Mom stepped forward. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide her exhaustion. Lila, please. Think about what this will do to our family's reputation. Your reputation? Ivy's voice came from the doorway. She stood there, hospital discharge papers in hand, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. That's what you're worried about. Ivy, sweetheart. Mom started. Don't. Ivy walked to the table, picked up one of the loan documents. This is Jake's handwriting. He forged my signature while I was sleeping. Called it investing in our future. She laughed bitterly. And when I finally questioned him, he gave me this. She gestured to her face. Dad's lawyer cleared his throat. Perhaps we could discuss this privately. No more privacy, I said, pulling out my phone. No more perfect family lies. I played the recording from my basement, Jake's confession to the loan sharks, captured while we waited for police. Mom sank into a chair. But he was so charming. So perfect for our family. Perfect. Ivy's voice cracked. He destroyed my credit, stole my identity, and when that wasn't enough, he went after Lila's. After everything she's done for this family, Dad protested. What exactly have I done, Dad? I stood up. Besides refused to play my assigned role? Besides trying to protect Ivy when you wouldn't? We were protecting her. No, Aunt Felicity said from the doorway. I hadn't even heard her arrive. You were protecting your illusion of a perfect family, just like you did when we were young, Evelyn. Always hiding the ugly truth to keep up appearances. Mom's face went white. Felicity, don't. Don't what? Tell them about how you covered up Dad's gambling? How you made me promise never to tell anyone when he lost everything. History repeats, sister. But this time, your daughters are stronger than we were. Detective Martinez cleared her throat. Mrs. Brooks, Mr. Brooks, given the evidence, will be charging Mr. Turner with multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and domestic abuse. The question is, will you finally support your daughters, or are appearances still more important? The silence stretched. I watched my parents' perfect facade crack, years of denial crumbling under the weight of truth. I'll testify, Ivy said quietly, about everything. You'll be disinherited, Dad warned. Good. I took Ivy's hand. We never wanted your inheritance. We wanted parents who could see us, really see us. Mom started crying, but for once, she didn't try to hide it. I didn't want to see, she whispered, because seeing meant admitting I failed. Again. You didn't fail by having imperfect children, Aunt Felicity said gently. You failed by demanding perfection in the first place. Detective Martinez gathered the evidence. I'll need formal statements from both MS. Brooks and MS. Turner. It's MS. Brooks again, Ivy corrected, squeezing my hand. And we're ready. As our parents left with their lawyer, Mom paused at the door. Lila. Her voice was small. That science fair project, the one about cancer detection, did you ever finish it? Yes, I said. It's the basis for my research now. She nodded, tears falling freely. I'd like to hear about it sometime, if you're willing. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't even really an apology. But it was something we'd never had before. Truth. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's forcing them to finally see reality. 6 months after Jake's arrest, I found Mom sitting on my front porch, holding a familiar VHS tape. I've been watching our old home videos, she said as I approached. Really watching them this time. The science fair video. I sat beside her, leaving space between us. Your cancer detection method, she continued. The research company that contacted you. They're using it now, aren't they? I nodded. Phase 1 trials start next month. And we missed it. All of it. She turned the tape over in her hands. We were so busy making sure everyone saw our perfect family that we stopped seeing our actual children. Down the street, Ivy emerged from Aunt Felicity's car. She'd been staying with our aunt while rebuilding her life, attending therapy, and testifying against Jake. The bruises had faded, but she walked differently now, stronger, more deliberate. Did you know, Mom said softly, that your father and I haven't taken a photo together since everything happened? After decades of perfectly posed holiday cards, we can't even look at cameras anymore. Good, I said, then caught myself. No, you're right. She set the tape down. It is good. Painful, but good. Ivy joined us on the porch, sitting on my other side. No one spoke for a moment. Jake took a plea deal. Ivy finally said, 8 years, plus restitution. Your father's liquidating his retirement fund to cover the loans, Mom added. It's not much, but…
Keep it, I said.
Aunt Felicity helped me contest the fraudulent charges. My credit's clearing up. Mine too. Ivy smiled slightly. Though I might keep using Brooks instead of going back to Turner. About that, Mom pulled an envelope from her purse. I found this while cleaning out the attic. It's from your grandmother, my mother. The letter inside was dated just before her death, addressed to Mom and Aunt Felicity. I'm sorry I made you hide who you were, I read aloud. Sorry I taught you that appearances matter more than truth. Break the cycle. Love your children for who they are, not who you wish they would be. She wrote that the day before she died. Mom whispered. I never showed it to Felicity, never took its advice. Instead, I became exactly what she warned against. Mr. Peterson waved from his porch next door. Behind him stood a man I'd seen around lately, Owen, a wildlife photographer who'd been documenting urban foxes in our neighborhood. He caught my eye and smiled. You know, Ivy said, following my gaze, perfect families don't exist, but real ones might be better. Mom stood up, brushing off her pants. For once, she didn't fix her hair or check her makeup. I should go. Your father. We're trying therapy. Separately for now. She paused at the steps. I know we can't go back. I can't fix everything we broke. But maybe we can build something new. Something real. After she left, Ivy and I sat in comfortable silence. The VHS tape sat between us, a relic of our old life. What should we do with it? Ivy asked. I thought about revenge, about justice, about protection. About the years spent fighting to be seen. Keep it, I decided, as a reminder of what we survived, of what we discovered. I picked up the tape, that sometimes the people who hurt us most aren't villains, they're just broken people trying to look whole. Owen crossed the street, camera in hand. You won't believe what I just captured, he called out. A whole fox family living right under everyone's noses. I smiled, thinking of hidden things finally coming to light. Want to see? He asked. Ivy nudged me.
Go.
I've got some job applications to fill out anyway. As I walked toward Owen, I glanced back at our porch, at my sister, at the tape, at the space where Mom had sat. The perfect family was gone, shattered by truth and consequences. But maybe that's what had to happen. Maybe you can't build something real until you clear away the perfect lies. I took Owen's offer hand, ready to see what he'd discovered, ready to see what else had been hiding in plain sight, waiting to be truly seen.